Okay, now we are in the next session of Lego robotics. This is the complete model with the brake, with the motors, and this is the first robot that you are going to make all by yourself. So just look it very carefully and see the two motors are connected to the back wheel, and the brake and the motor are connected using these cords. So this is what we're gonna build now, and I'm gonna take all these parts off and build it for you again so you can see it step by step. Okay, now we need these parts. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beams, and you need 2 motors and a brick and many pegs like these. You need many pegs like these and a chassis, a built-in chassis. So these are the stuff we need now to make the first build. Okay, I have fixed more pegs to the chassis that we built before, but small changes in the chassis is, if you see it, I took out the jack, the one that we rolled a rubber band. I took that because if the axle is connected from the whole way, like on the whole way from this wheel to this wheel, it's a little hard to put the motors in because that will hit the motor, the whole axle that will hit the motor, and anything that hits, any two things that hits on each other will make the vehicle to move slowly. So like anything that moves, like the wheels should not bump on the frame, or the motor should not bump on the frame, so, or the axle. So it can, like, I'm gonna connect it, but it can bump like this, like hit like this. I'm gonna connect the axle with the wheel. So like I told you before, the motor goes to the back wheel, so that will make the chassis move forward. Okay, first let's see what are the parts that I connected with the chassis that you built. First, take out the jack that you built in the chassis, or since it's in another class, you would have already unassembled the parts before in the previous class. So you build a chassis like this first, make the frames, connect the wheels without the jack and the rubber band. You fix everything as it is, and just make sure that both the axles have space. You take 2 different axles and then separate axles and then fix the wheels. Okay, and then these are the things you need. I have connected different pegs. You just see where it is connected with. So from the back wheel axle, you have to fix a blue long peg, a hole after the axle. Like, you have to just leave a hole space and then fix an axle. I'm gonna do it for the other side. So I'm leaving one space and then fixing it here. See? So now you have 2 sides. These are for the motors, to fix the motors. Okay, I'm gonna fix it with the back wheel. Okay, now the next thing you need to do is take another two different axles. It can be any size, it just needs to go through these holes. You see here, this part I'm talking about. Take an axle, put it, the one that you have, like you have made a beam, like a lengthy beam, you would have connected those two beams together, so you have to put the axle in that connection area. Leave a hole on the big beam and then put the axle on the second hole of the big beam, and take an axle connector that I just showed you. This is the axle connector. Put the axle in and then fix a bushing on the wheel side, and take a peg, like another peg, like ivory colored peg. Take another peg and then put it inside the axle connector and connect that with the axle, so it will become like this. I can show you that's connected with the motor for the other side, or you can do this way. You see that? I'm gonna fix this. You see, it's connected. It doesn't have any axle yet. I'm gonna fix it on the motor hole. You see that? Okay, one thing. This is the forward facing side of a motor. So you have to always keep the motor this way. You see it? These lines face forward. This is the back side of the motor. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix this hole with the back wheel axle, like all the way in, so it doesn't fall. And you see here, I put the axle with the bushing like I told you, and I put the peg, ivory peg with the axle connector, and I'm gonna fix those two, like I'm gonna fix those two together. That's it. Do you see that? Did you see this? So I connected those two together. Now the first motor is fixed. One side, the orange side with the wheel, I put the axle inside, and the other side, the ivory peg, the axle connector, the axle, and the bushing. So you need to really know the pieces, the names of the parts well. Otherwise, it's hard for you to understand what I'm saying. On the other side, I'm going to put the same way. I'm going to put the motor forward facing. I'm going to connect the wheels with the orange part. Okay. And then fix all the way the orange part, and then that's it. Did you see that? It got connected. Easy peasy. And then next step, you can pause for a moment, finish your step up to here, and then we can continue. Okay, we are back. Now, the next step. Take a 9-hole beam, and fix 4 pegs inside it. 2 at the end, one on both ends, and 2 in the middle. Like, leave a hole after the end and then put on the alternative hole. So fix this part, and then we are going to connect these 2 motors together so it doesn't wobble. It wobbles, you see, it wobbles. So I don't want that to wobble, so I'm going to connect these 2 motors together. You see these holes, 3 here and 3 here. I'm going to connect this with this. Like take your time. So I connected the 9-hole beam into the motors. So now the motor is firm, it can't shake, so it can wobble. So now this is built, this part. So finish up to here, and then we will fix the brick. Let's pause. Okay, we are back. This is the NXT brick that you have been waiting for a very long time. So we can program this after we put that, but I'm going to show you how now. So you have to press the orange button. You hear the music? That's on. I think it's a little glary, so I'm going to see whether this side is more visible. Yeah, that is more visible. Okay. You see my files? This is the computer part of the robot. It has instructions inside. It has programmed. So you don't need to worry about programming right now, but you can just see how it goes. So you have my files, and then this is like the enter button, and this is the back button, and these are left and right. So just press the right button and you see the NXT program. You just press that because we are going to make sure everything is right. And these are, it says B and C. If you go all the way to the bottom, it says B, C to left and right motor. So you always connect the B and C at the top. See that? B and C at the top to the left and right hole, like always you connect your cord with B and C. That's what it means. And left and right motor. So that goes with the motor part. So I will show you that later. Excuse me. And then you just press it. I just showed this part because to make you understand that. You go forward and you see this is the action part for the vehicle to move. It says forward 5. So these boxes will help you to keep those instructions in this box, and it will obey whatever you put in this box. So if you put something inside the box, like it says forward 5, so if I press this, you see like something inside, like the plus inside, which means the forward 5 instruction is now stored inside the box. So it will move forward for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to keep these. Either I can keep this box empty, or I can make, like I can give some instructions like, okay, wait for 5 more seconds, but I don't need that now. So I'm going to just go on, and now in this box I can see where it is. Okay, I'm going to use the other side and see. Okay, I have backward 5. I can assign, okay, if you go forward for 5 seconds, then you can come backward for 5 more seconds. Now that instruction is assigned here, and it goes to the next box, and I'm going to leave it empty. Or you can just see what instructions in there, and you can make that wait for 5 seconds and come back. And the next, it says stop loop. If I press stop, it's going to stop right there. And if I press loop, it will go on and on and on until you make it stop, or until it sees something, like senses something. That's another big robot. You have to put a sensor there. But right now we are not going to worry about that. We are just going to make it run. So if you press this orange button right now, it will go. But right now this is not connected. So I'm going to go back all the way. And it says turn off. And I'm going to press yes. And make sure it gets charged. Because sometimes if there's no charge, this will not run. So we have a charger. Yeah, we have a charger. I think 2 chargers are in one box. We have a charger, and you put the charger here and charge it. Okay? Okay, let's start building the robot again. Now we are back building the robot. Now fix 4 pegs. Any color. It doesn't have to be blue. You can connect in it. It has to be long peg. That's it. You see, put the small side, like the short side, on the first hole, both sides. And then take another peg, and you see this L shape, you have to put one at the bottom, so it's like adjacent to each other, so it's not the same hole. You have to come down and put it on both ways. Okay, so this is ready, and take 2 large beams, like this is so far big, the large one, the long one. So take, I think this is 5, 10, 13 hole beam. So you have to take 2 equal size long beams and keep it aside. We will use it. And now take another beam. Okay, and use a short peg, a small peg, it's not the big one, the short one, and put it on the 5th hole. And you take the small beam, the 7-hole beam, and connect it together. It has to be like this, like on it has to slide like a slanting position, so I can put it to make these bricks stand without wobbly. And the reason I put this together is we're going to fix these chassis and the brick. So just try to put like one large blue beam so you can fix it. Now the fixing part. You see two blue pegs here? So this is the back wheel. Motor is always connected with the back wheel. And you make sure that you leave one hole in between the wheel and the peg, and you connect the blue peg there, both sides. And then you have to fix this big beam, the long beam at the end, at the last hole. Just connect that. Okay, so now it's ready. Okay. And here I put two short beams. You have to see carefully because this is more confusing now. You see the axle connected with the motor? You have to fix a short peg right next to the end of the beam over here. Put one short beam here and the same on the next side. And then, do you see another peg here? You have to make sure you leave a hole here. On this side there's no hole left. You just put it right next to the beam ends. But here you leave a hole on the short beam, and then you put a peg here on both sides. Okay, because that's where these goes. So one, I'm gonna put it in the way so you know how. So look at here, it's like a upside down Y. So I just connect these two together, like one here and the other on the next peg. So you see that it stands now. You have to make sure those stay really good. Okay, now these are all connected. The only final part is fixing this brick. Just put those together and we're ready to go. You see that? It's not wobbly, it's all good. Now, remember the B and C's. So I'm putting, and try not to break these plastics because you have to press the tail a little to push it inside. I think many of you know that part. Just want to make sure. And always make sure you connect the B and C with the motor. Connect that with the motor. And it's ready to go. So now I'm gonna turn it on, and you see the go to NXT program, press the orange button, press it again, and